Oh, well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. So, I've got the actual esteemed pleasure of speaking with probably the one and only that has seen my transformation over the last few years, and that's obviously Miss Lexie Shay. So, Lex, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having
Thanks.
me.
No, that's okay. Thanks for joining. So, obviously, Lex. Well, not obvious, but obvious to me, Lex is
Yeah,
the one that transforms this into what it is now. Okay, so
with a
obviously
pro.
the Mo's needs a little bit of a touch up, but that's okay.
Needs a little
But
blow
yeah,
dry.
hey,
Needs a little blow dry.
it does. It needs a little blow dry. So obviously, Lex, I've known a quick backstory with Lex and I. Lex and I got introduced through the Cairns hairdressing scene. I was looking for a bit of a change in the way I was representing myself, and it was a bit of a massive change actually, and it kind of was represented on how I was feeling at that time
Mhm.
as to what I have transformed myself into now. And Lex has been with me pretty much since day one of that transformation. So from bleached, platinum, the beards, the red
Yeah,
beard, the
the red
platinum
beard.
beard, yeah,
Yeah,
the pink beard. Now, obviously, from what you see today, and we actually had a what was it last week? We caught up, had got touched up with the color, so it's looking nice and fresh, which is awesome. It does
yeah.
fade out a lot, so but that's okay. It's part and parcel. So I just want to kind of just touch base initially because I've been recording some chats today, and I had a bit of a break in between my last one and today, so I thought let's head down to the shops, get a couple of things from the local supermarket, needed some cat food and such. And I obviously got the Pink My Bro hoodie on. And when I got to the shops, it was just the local IGA. So I got into the shops, walking up and down the aisles trying to find what I need. And then I got started a conversation with this lady. She was probably in her mid 60s. And then obviously, so I got pink shoes. And she looked at me up and down and goes, "Oh, you're looking very bright today." I said, "Yeah, well, this is what I do and stuff like that." And we got that conversation started about obviously with men's health and with women's health as well because it's just not about men's health. It's obviously the focus. What I do is generally obviously about with breast cancer awareness and stuff like that, so it's giving that support back to the people that I deal with and what support they've given back to me. So then it was a brief conversation. It was a productive conversation. It was good. And then checked out. I parked in the next car park along, so I was walking down the path, and I could see it was very funny because I could see three guys walking towards me, and these will be guys that I would not interact with. I would have no conversation with them whatsoever. So these just random guys off the street. Now there was three of them. Two of them were probably I want to say early 20s, and then the other one was probably early 30s. And then they obviously see me, and I get a lot of that interaction because if someone sees me and they're with a group of people, they will turn around and like kind of whisper to that other person, "Oh, look, turn around, look who's behind you," something like that. And I
Don't make
know
it
they're
obvious.
doing, hey,
Like, don't make it obvious. But look
yeah,
what's
that's
behind.
right, exactly, yeah, exactly. Then they turn around, and I know they're talking about me. That's okay. So then the older one sees the hoodie, and then they just stop me in the middle of the footpath and go, "Oh, so what's this about? So what's the pink Mobro about?" So I explain to them, 17 years with Movember. The last 4 years has been what I do for breast cancer awareness with the way that I look and the way I represent myself. And then and then he's going, oh, I thought it was just about prostate cancer. I said, well, it's a little bit more than that, but it's me giving back to my sisters. So the women that have supported me over the years, and sure as shit, there's a lot of them, and I love all of you to death for what you've done to me. But it's for me giving back to these people what I do. Okay. And then one of the younger ones gave me a bro handshake, and it was funny because this literally only happened an hour and a half ago, and I wanted to talk about that. And while it's still fresh in my mind, thinking, okay, what I do, how I represent myself, is evident within the community. And when you look at three people like them, and they're probably very nice guys, but they're not people who I would interact with on a daily basis. But it's good to have that different reaction from somebody like that. And obviously, this is no reflection on them as individuals. It's just people who I wouldn't deal with on a daily basis. So it was nice to have that interaction, because I'm thinking to myself, I could see them and I could see them see me. And I'm thinking, okay, how's this going to turn out? So I've
Yeah.
I've had the odd couple of negative interactions, but
Mm.
then 99% of it's all been positive. And that was a positive interaction. Like,
Yeah.
I I don't care what people think or what they say, and you could weigh in on this as well, because you have seen that transformation.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I really don't care what people think. I walk down the street, head held high, doing what I need to do, being seen within the community, and representing myself as best as I can. So, and I can see, oh, the same thing.
Okay. Yeah. It's like, oh
And
no.
yeah, so I would love to get your view on that. And because and for those who don't know, we actually, Lex and I, do share the same birthday, so we are
Twins.
Gemini twins. Yeah. So I think we understand each other. We know what Geminis are like. I've been told more than once that I'm a true Gemini. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you have on the odd occasion. So yeah, but seeing that and seeing the transformation from 4 years ago up until now, how do you think that how have you seen that over the years? I'm assuming it's a positive thing, but I don't know that. It's I know you've gone through a lot of stuff with mental health and stuff like that. And coming from a woman's point of view, I'm always interested to get your opinion on what it means to you.
Yeah. I just firstly want to say I'm so proud of you for doing all of this. It takes a lot, and it takes a lot of strength in itself to have the courage to talk about all this kind of stuff and be so publicly vulnerable and starting the conversation. And that's what I just adore about you, Ben.
Thank you.
But yeah,
Thanks,
this
mate. I appreciate it.
yeah, all good. But this conversation you had this morning, that's the whole reason why you're doing it, right? You're just getting all walks of life from every kind of attitude, I guess, talking about it and, making it okay to talk about mental health and, that's the whole reason. But seeing your transformation over the past 4 years of like when I first met you to like now, I remember when like, we first did colorful hair on you and you came back and was like, oh, this person was saying this about me. And I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. I'm like, you know what? It's fine. You're probably never gonna see those people again, either way. But like now your mentality behind the whole thing has completely changed. Like I get it all the time. Like I've got green hair and tattoos and for so many years it was like, oh my God, everyone's talking about me. But it's like that's the whole reason. Like you want to start that conversation. It's okay to be different. It's okay to have your own story. It's okay to represent what's authentically yourself. And that's what you're doing. And yeah, now the conversations that you have of like, oh, it's so hilarious. This kid screaming down the street, running after me, like, oh, you got a pink mustache, like your whole personality has completely changed, and it's been a delightful watch.
It has, and thanks to that, it's. yeah, I hear it all the time, and it's one that stands out, and one I'm going to be repeating myself over the next through the Movember campaign is the 9-year-old girl, the 9-year-old daughter who came up to me while I was at Cairns Central and talking like she was with her mum, and she came up and the mum said, "Oh, my daughter would like to talk to you." And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And then I think the daughter was um, just seeing somebody who's got this vibrant color and kind of just really wanted to know why. I think she was at the age when she was a little bit too young to kind of fully grasp the meaning behind it. Really going into depth about what breast cancer is about and what mental health is about with men, stuff like that. So it was kind of, so hey, do you know what Movember is? She didn't know what that was, so I explained that briefly. But then I said, hey, this is, there's a lot of women that go through a lot of circumstances who go through a lot in their life. And when it comes to breast cancer, obviously there's lots of other different cancers, but the majority of women going through breast cancer is a lot. So there's that impacts making a statement about what you can do. Someone might just have a little pin on their tie or something like that, and that just it's their way of giving back to the people who they've been in communication with over the years for whatever reason. But for me, it's making a bold impact and making a statement and going, you know what, fuck you to cancer. This is what it's going to mean to me by doing this. And like I've said to people, I'm going to go not old and grey. I'll be old and pink. And
I'll be
yeah,
old with you, mate.
yeah. Thanks, buddy. Thanks. You'll be old and green. So yeah, yeah. And but it's like with my boys, they're in their early 20s, and then they know what dad does, but and they're not afraid to know what dad does, and they're not ashamed about that either. And then coming from your perspective, for example, I know you've been through a lot over the last 12 months, and we don't have to go into full detail about that. I'm quite happy to if you this is a safe space, so if you want to talk about it, that's fine. If you don't, we can always talk about something else. But it's having that understanding and realization of what you're doing is making a difference in somebody's life. And I was talking to a friend of mine the other day who lives over in WA. He has gone through a lot in his life with suicide and stuff like that. And he was very open about it. But then he had an interaction with somebody who kind of similar to what I had with a young girl who was wanting to, or not wanting to, he didn't realize he had made an impact on this person for
Mm.
whatever reason. It's that other person was obviously contemplating ending their life, and then for whatever reason that Kyle had with that person, there was that connection without him realizing it, and then it made an impact on that other person to kind of sort himself out a little bit and reevaluate his life. So um, that was a good outcome for himself. Yeah, and I know like with yourself, you've been overseas to work and lived and stayed and all that kind of stuff. Do you think when you look at that, is there a bit of a difference between what you experienced over there as to what you're potentially going through here, or is that pretty much the same?
I think there's similarities through everything. I think mental health is something that's just been so like shunned to talk about. Like what is the right word I'm trying to say here? But yeah, it's just got this. you just can't talk about mental health or like, especially with men, you know, that's the whole reason why I did my collection that you were a part of. Is that I've recently, like, you know, I have lost a lot of friends that have, you know, to suicide for mental health that are male. And
Mm.
that's the reason why I wanted to start the conversation. Like, doing the collection itself, I didn't really care about, you know, winning or anything like that. I just wanted to get that kind of conversation out there in a platform like that to be able to start talking about it. And I guess like my main thing is just breaking down the stigma that comes with mental health, whether it is male or female or, you know, every gender involved. Um, that it's okay to not be okay and to be able to freely talk about it. And, you know, you've probably seen on a lot of what I post. I am very, very vulnerable on my social media. And there are some times that I'm like, oh my God, I've shared way too much. And like, I've just put too much out there. And like, oh my God, people are going to think I'm crazy or like something. And like, you know, a lot of people digest it and maybe like in a day or two I'll get like a influx of messages being like, I'm so grateful that you had said something because I've been feeling like this for years and years and years, or and I've just felt like I was alone and I felt like I was going crazy, or like, you know, and you've just made me feel like it's okay to feel like this, and you know, there are options out there for me to take. Um, so yeah, I've had a friend recently that she's going through something quite traumatic for herself, and she just thinks the only answer is, you know, unaliving. And the way that she talks about it is that when she has brought it up to people, they just tell her how to feel and what she needs to do, and that she shouldn't be feeling this way. And that's when I was going through my own mental health journey, that's the same thing, that I understand where people are coming from and being like, don't do it, because no one wants anyone to do that thing. Like, it's traumatic and it's horrible for the people in the family that's, you know, surround them, and you know what's left behind afterwards. But constantly being told that you're wrong for feeling the way you're feeling is just not the conversation we should be having. I think people just need to be listened to, and without judgment. I think like it's okay to be feeling like that, and like not that their feelings are valid, because I don't think anyone should be thinking that way of themselves. But just understanding where they're coming from and then maybe helping them with another option of maybe let's go down this path instead and just see how you feel after a couple of days. And now
Yeah,
we got her onto ChatGPT, and that ChatGPT has actually saved my life. But you know, having that conversation with ChatGPT, and then that ha actually has helped her put together a letter for, you know, the doctors that she's been to in the past that have just been like, "You're being silly. Just take some antidepressants and you'll be fine," which is not the case at all. She should be, you know, taking the right steps and, you know, having help and having that therapist come to her every week or however often it should be. But it helped her, you know, articulate it right and get her the right help that she needed. So, um,
yeah. So with ChatGPT, how was how was she utilizing that to help her? Was it to generate a letter that she can give to somebody?
it's more like, you know, because you have an option on chat whether you want to text it or write it or like talk. And I've, you know, chosen a voice that sounds very like, you know, warm and supportive, because you can change to all these different voices to however you want to be spoken back at. And you can either say, I just want like, I want help, or I just want an ear to be listened to. And I posted on my story today that I think that everyone should be going to therapy or having some sort of mental health help, whether you have had trauma in your life or you haven't. I think just having someone that's not in your inner circle, have that open ear that doesn't have this subconscious empathy to the situation because they know you or they know the person or the situation that you're in, and have this like subconscious thought already about it. So having that kind of someone that's not in your circle listen to you and understand and maybe have an outsider point of view is always a really good way to go. So yeah, chat was just great and just came up with like all of these other solutions that had no emotional attachment to it. And then she's like, what it asks, what do you want to do next? And it's like, oh, I want help. And it's like, okay, well, there's these options you can take. Which option do you want to go down? And then she went through all the options, and yeah, now she's, you know, packed up her life where she was before and got herself out of a shitty situation that was not helping, and
Yeah.
now onto a better path, which is amazing.
Yeah, and you know what? I I would never have thought about using Chat GPT as um, that path to something. I really hadn't. I always use that just to muck around with photos and change stuff. Like going from like a gothic punk, change this to gothic punk, whatever. I never would have in my wildest imagination thought that you could have used that as a as an avenue, and I guess that's where obviously technology and time has changed. Like when I was growing up in the 80s, 90s, there was nothing about, well, 80s, well there was nothing about support for mental health at all. There was nothing like that at all. And when I was going through, when I was in the army, for example, there was some pretty traumatic moments in that time when it was like, what the fuck, what can I do? And now, I've had a psychologist for 7 odd years now. See her on and off when I feel that I need to see her, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't, obviously time has changed using that technology, and like having someone who is not comfortable talking to somebody face to face, for example. Eventually, you probably will have to, but having that, using technology, ChatGPT as a stepping stone to move forward in preparing you a little bit better so that you know what to say when you do
What
speak with somebody.
language is going to be the right language to use to be able to get the help that I need?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't know, because like no one really understands their emotions, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So much like there's so much more like so many deeper levels into mental health that no one understands. Like when I was, in my thick of my mental health, like I just felt like no matter what I was saying, I was like I was talking to a brick wall. Meanwhile, the people that I was talking to didn't know how to help me. And that's why they were like, I don't know. I don't know the avenues that you need to go down because I'm struggling as well. Because
Yeah.
everyone has their own issues and there's not the resources out there for people to use. And this is why the conversation is so important because I've just opened you up to a whole different aspect you can go down if you ever need it.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. And the more I get into these conversations throughout Movember, I'll be I'll be definitely using that as a I'll write that down just so I don't forget. But yeah, I'll be definitely using that as an option, because and that's just where progression has changed over the years. Instead of kind of being um, not having that support. Well, there probably would have been support back in the day, but
Wasn't
it
yeah.
wasn't available, readily available. And there
Yeah.
was that stigma behind that, reaching out, asking for help, especially. No, I really don't know about other countries, but I know probably within Australia in the 70s and 80s and the 90s, there would have
Yeah.
been that, it would have been pretty taboo. So,
It's even still taboo now though, like which is so crazy. It's 2025.
yeah, yeah. I, I
Not
I definitely think there is more of a open mind.
oh, yeah.
There is definitely a more,
Yeah.
obviously since the last 5 years, basically there has been more support available, but it's getting people interacted, trying to get them to help themselves in a way that they can do it themselves without feeling like they're like shit. So,
Yeah.
and that's what a lot of people would still feel like, you know. But it's, yeah, no, that's really good. Chat GPT, as if people, really not on board with it. If there's something that you get out of today, get on board with that, because I think that's a really good, a useful
Great.
tool to have. Yeah, absolutely.
It's even
And
gotten to a I've had arguments with family members or, something that because it's usually a lot of the point comes down to when people are, are depressed, it is due to family issues or,
mm,
for example, we'll just go with that. But you can screenshot the conversations and put it in there and it's like, can you help me? Am I overthinking this? am I being too emotional because I'm in an emotional state right now, or am I seeing this for what it is, and are they actually coming across that way? And the good thing about chat is because it knows all. Uh, but it can come across as like, okay, no, you are actually being a little bit too emotional right now, and they're coming through with the logical sense.
Yeah.
So it's not just like I'm here for you and you only. It's like, hang on, let's look at it from every side. So it's like, let's just take a breather, and it helps you. Like, okay, let's do some breathing exercises. Do this with me now. It's unreal. It's so unreal.
I
So,
know with um, I know with your work environment, well, with mine, for example, I have external or internal support. So there are people that we can talk to, and that is readily available for anyone who works within my industry. Obviously, you don't have that because
yeah.
you are your own boss. So having that avenue of support,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, is definitely a positive step in the right direction. And I know, with the circumstances you've had over the last 6 to 12 months, and we won't go into detail unless you want it, but it's a support for yourself, which is good, you know. So
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's good. With somebody within your age bracket, so what I know with somebody like, I'm over 50, men don't really, there's still that stigma behind men reaching out, and they're afraid to say it, it's going to be like that for a long time coming. What experiences have you had kind of around your general age group from a woman's point of view? Is it similar?
It's definitely like that's the one thing I think which is really good about being a woman is that we are so open to talking to things with other women as well. Especially, I think we have a lot more of an open mind, and just societal norms. It's, women are emotional, and we have that option there for us at the ready. If we ever do need to go down that. But coming across from um, a woman my age experiencing the social construct of men not being able to show emotion, we have usually been the ones that have been the target point of that unresolved emotion, trauma, whatever, because we're the closest avenue. So
Yeah, yeah, it's true.
yeah, so in my past 12 months, as you know, Ben, um, I was involved with a man that didn't know how to regulate his own emotions, and it took a bad turn. And I stayed there with him for as much as I could to try and help him through that. But it gets to a point where, as from a woman's perspective, because we love the person so much, we do want to try and help because we are nurturers. We are women, we are mothers, that's what we're on this earth to do, even though I'm not gonna have kids, but yes, that's um so that's it, just built in our nature is to try and help, try and nurture whoever or whatever is in front of us. So sometimes that can linger and make us unsafe at the same time because we just want to try and help, even though it's still affecting us, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
that's why I'm so open about everything, is because me saying this story about me staying with a person that didn't know how to understand their own emotions, and it really affect me, my safety. um I could then, another woman could hear this conversation and go, oh shit, that's what I'm doing, and
Yeah,
then try and change their narrative as well. But I guess that's why I'm so vulnerable, because and wanting to start that conversation with men's mental health, because I want to break down that societal norm of men don't cry, just rub some fucking dirt in it and you'll be fine. Sorry, I just swore. But it is okay to show emotion, whether however you want to have that emotion come across, whether it is you want to break down and cry, or you just want to, like, shut off, but you still have that avenue to talk about it, a little bit. Even if you do open the door just the tiniest bit, you're still one step further than what you were yesterday. So um
I think obviously shutting off's not an
no.
avenue you should
Yeah.
take on. Yeah, and we both know that. Um, but I know for me, I reckon the last probably 4 months, I can literally just drop it. I can cry at the drop of a hat. I know looking at stuff, if I'm going through stuff on socials, whatever, looking at reels, anything that I think is like emotionally triggering, it will make me cry. It's generally a happy cry, but I'm surprised on how quickly and how often it happens. Men get menopausal. It happens. Whether I'm going through that stage at the moment, I've got no idea. But it's a good emotion,
Yeah.
and men shouldn't feel like they're less
Period.
of a man that if they cry.
Yeah,
I cry all the time, and it's it's second. Honestly, it's second nature for me, really. So, but
absolutely.
I've always been emotional.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I think what I try and do, and I think I do it well, is to instill some thought for people. And this is probably one of the reasons why I'm having these conversations. The conversations I've had have been pretty heavy in topic, and I need to take a break from it as well,
Yeah.
because listening to all these conversations, it is therapeutic
Yeah.
for me and for the person I'm talking to, and I think it's therapeutic for both of us. But
Yeah.
I still have to take a step back and just refocus, and then listen to the next conversation, and that's part of what I'm doing. Like, you've been there with me when I've done my physical campaigns and stuff like that. So I kind of want to do something a little bit different and kind of have a conversation starter with these people and talk about what it means to them, not just for men's health, but also obviously for women's health. It's what I do for with the pink. The breast cancer awareness. I'm throwing my support back to the most sisters that have helped me out over the years, and there's been a fucking heap of you, and I love every one of yous. But it's me just giving some support back, okay, and hopefully what I do does make an impact on the people that I have an interaction with, like those guys today. That was a really random conversation, but it was a positive conversation. Once they know and listen, then their attitude changes. You could see me walking 50 meters down the road. We can't cross the street. We're going to walk past each other. What do? Do you ignore me, or do you start a conversation? Let's start a conversation and just talk about it. It can be a minute conversation. It doesn't have to be 20 minutes. It can be just a quick 30 seconds to a minute, but it's changing the way that somebody thinks when they see somebody who looks a little bit different. Like for yourself, you'd have had conversations, people staring at you for years on end, and I think it just shows confidence, not in just yourself, but myself as well. Having
Yeah.
that, just being comfortable in our own skin to just go, you know what? I don't give a shit what people think about me or how I look. It's how I represent myself.
Yeah, look, it is a constant. It's not like, I woke up one day and I'm like all of a sudden I don't care about what anyone thinks, and you would do the same thing. It's a constant battle with yourself every day. It's like, why am I doing this? Why do I want to look like this? And why, you know, reminding yourself why I want to not be like a sheep and look like everyone else. I want to be authentic and be me. Because you like it is hard constantly getting like stared at and constantly getting like ridiculed for wanting to be different or being covered in tattoos or having colorful hair or having piercings or whatever it may be, or dressing however you want to dress. It is hard, and it's a constant battle within myself, especially, and you would probably get it as well. Like, it is a negative thing that they're trying to do not a lot of the time, some of the time. But it's just reminding yourself who you are, and really living your truth and being authentic, and yeah, and it's hard, you know it's mental health is hard, man.
It
Like, and
is. It is.
struggles, no matter how confident one person may look. And
Mm.
this is why I'm even more vulnerable on social media because when I was going through my mental health period, not what I still am. Everyone's always going through their
Everyone has. Yeah.
um, but when I was in the thick of it, all I was seeing, because social media is all about posting your wins or posting the best time, it's like I then was comparing myself to other people and being like, why aren't I like that? Why am I sat in my bed rotting for days and being so depressed and I can't do this? And then you start beating yourself down because I'm not where these other people are. So I think that's why I'm posting more the shit stuff on social media because it's life. Everyone goes through everything, no matter what they look like on the outside. That everyone's got their shit, man. And that's one thing that I've found since opening the vault and making it a open space, open door policy, is that no matter who they are, what they dress like, how much money you have, or how successful, quote unquote, successful you are, everyone has got their mental health problems or that everyone's got their issues that are going through. And it's really opened up my mind, opening up the conversation. It's made me feel better as a person because I'm not alone in this. And that's one thing what you brought up before is like after having all these conversations, all these heavy conversations, it's great and it's therapeutic, but what do you do with that energy that you've received from that conversation? You also have to protect yourself and put a white light around yourself and recharge and reconnect with earth and who you are and why you're doing this thing because it is you're constantly taking that negative energy, you know, even though if it's just through a phone call, and even if I'm just doing a haircut, I'm still touching the person and still getting that energy and still getting that offload of horrible shit that everyone's going through. But it's like, okay, they've just gotten it off. So now I've got to learn how I need to let that go and what I need to do to rebalance myself in the situation as well. But
Yeah, and I think when you have that interaction with somebody, like
yeah,
at the end of the session, like for me, like the other week, like it was a while since we had a color, so obviously there was circumstances, and we just missed a time. Um, but then when I come out of that session, it's like you're a whole different person.
yeah,
Yeah, and that will reflect on not only um the feeling that you get from looking how I look, but the skill and talent that you bring to your clients in looking like that as well. So you have that, and I'm not just saying this because you're my friend. You are really good at your job. You are really good. You are amazing, and people need to understand that you are a really talented hairdresser. Um,
right?
but yeah, sorry, that's I got a bit emotional then. But
No,
yeah, about one thing that I just want to end up on is like when you're just going back to comparing yourself to others. Why aren't I like that?
yeah,
That's kind of what got me to see my psychologist because at that time I was really heavily involved in triathlon and I was
yeah,
overseas after a race and it was like, do I need to see somebody? Do I need? She's trained. She's a qualified sports psychologist, but obviously there's more internal. It's not just about sport. It's obviously it's about other things centered around that.
yeah,
And it was and I'm comparing myself like triathlon is a very individual sport, but you're amongst hundreds, if not thousands, of other races people racing in that one particular event. So even though that you're surrounded by so many people, it's you as an individual
yeah. It's a
competing. Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Self through triathlons are fucking testing, dude. So I'm like a
It
big
is. It is. Yeah,
I
yeah.
think like, anything that is quite pushing physically, it is also a mental challenge as well to like you keep
100%.
yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's obviously having that physical ability to do the job, but as soon as your brain switches off, that's it. You just stop and go, nah, fuck it, done, not doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's having that ability to push yourself And that's when at the time with my coach, I'm thinking, yes, no, I have thought about it. Let's have a chat with somebody. But then it's comparing myself to others. Why aren't I like that? Why aren't I achieving these goals? Why aren't I achieving these times? But it's not just about that. It's about a more deeper connection with the sport that you loved, and
Yeah,
why is it affecting your ability to do that. So yeah, it's all, I think everything comes around in full circle. But I just want
absolutely.
to, yeah, absolutely, indeed, yeah. But hey, I want to, on that note, I do want to thank you for having this conversation today. Um, I'm going to take a break from it for the day because I've had, this will be my third in the space of about 4 hours. So I'm going to have a bit of a break from it, and yeah, I'll reconvene at a later date. But
Yeah.
thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for what you've opened up and said today. I do really appreciate it. Um, like I've told other people, we aren't trained psychologists. We only go by what we've experienced in our lifetime and learn from that. So if anyone has felt some emotion, if it's triggered anything from somebody who has listened in today, please reach out. There are support out there available. So chat GPT,
Yeah, it's great.
that's definitely something to look at. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. All right, mate. You enjoy the rest of your day, okay? And thank you. Thank you.
You
Thank you.
reconnect with nature after this.
All right, mate. Speak to you soon, okay?
Yeah.
Bye.
And scene.